Hello, everybody. We are the Three Stooges. We like to take our job serious as we cover high school sports in the Sacramento region and the statewide focus, the CIF, the California Interscholastic Federation. I'm Joe Davidson. I've been with the Sacramento Bee since 1989, and this is what happens when you hang out with talented young reporters like Chris Jackson of West Coast Preps and Jordan Georgeson of Gold Country Media, and we go out for pizza and beer, and all of a sudden we say, why don't we do a podcast? And those guys, I'll defer to the younger, brilliant order here of how of doing the social media and how to do the Zoom calls and all those kind of things. I'm still like a keyboard guy. So it is great to hang out with you guys. We're all on the same page. We certainly enjoy local sports. We're going to touch today and every week on some of the good things that are going on, the players, the teams, the coaches, the record setters, but we're going to also address issues that are concerning, and it's been around as long as I've been covering this since 1989, and that's pushy parents, high school brawls, relentless pressure on coaches who step away, come and go, referee shortage, and why that is. And unfortunately, that's society. That's what's going on. A lot of it's magnified by social media. But let's go through the round table here. So Joe Davidson, Sacramento Bee since 1989. Follow us every day if you can, and follow my good friends here. You guys take it from here.
Yeah, Chris Jackson, West Coast Prep since 2020. Love high school sports. As I think probably everybody can tell. I don't know if I have the same talent as Joe. He calls me brilliant. Even my wife doesn't call me brilliant or a genius. So I'll take this with stride and maybe put this in my Twitter bio later today and my LinkedIn and stuff too. But
Well, next to where it says public nuisance and no gooder. So,
yeah,
Jordan, tell us about you, how long you've been there, and why you doing this.
Yeah, I'm Jordan Georgeson with Gold Country Media since 2021. And, I'm doing this because I love sports. I love everything about it. But what I really love is, the passion in high school sports. I mean, I always joke that, when you cover high school sports instead of college and the pros, the players actually want to talk to you after the game. But, part of the reason too is just, I grew up in Loomis and I know, where a small town loves their high school sports. And I love getting to tell the stories of these athletes and getting to profile them and, all around Placer County and the foothills. I love doing it. And Joe, I know Chris said he appreciates you calling him brilliant. I appreciate you calling me young because I just turned 29 and my wife is constantly reminding me that I'm 30 next year. And that makes me feel very old. And I know that probably makes me feel young, but I just appreciate that someone makes me feel young because I had a player call me sir the other day and I did not like that. So
Oh, I think that's hilarious, and you're the bearded smart guy of the lot, and Chris Jackson is the multi. You guys are so versatile in what you do, and I'm giving you guys ringing endorsements, and people will say, "Oh, there's no future in media and this and that." Well, there sure is, and especially with guys like you, the two of you who are multi dimensional, versatile. You could edit, you could shoot footage, you could. Still images with photography, social media. That's really important. And, local media is important. And we encourage readers and listeners to listen to what we have to say, follow us on social media, read our stuff online. And if it's behind a paywall, it's pretty affordable. It just kind of reinforces why we do this. But so I just retweeted 10 minutes ago a really cool thing. Bernie Makowski is a basketball referee who just recently did his final game after 51 years of varsity experience in Southern California. It was a game between Eisenhower and Northwestern, the girls, and people applauded him and all. How cool is that? We are in a society where people blame the referees all the time. I go to Folsom football games and I hear these fans say the same thing. The referees in the CIF are out to get us. No, they're not. Sit down, close your mouth, watch the game. You don't think that Oak Ridge across the stadium or Granite Bay or Whitney, they don't feel like they're getting targeted and shafted. Everybody who follows a team is convinced that the referees are out to get them. It's not true. It's unrelenting what's going on with referees. We've seen a shortage of referees. It's concerning and it's been around forever. So kudos to the referees who do it, the guys who do it. And Jordan, I'm going to throw right back at you. We have a parental issue problem, whether it's in Sacramento or Southern California or in Placer County. Detail one of the stories you did recently on the Lincoln Zebras, the Placer County girls basketball coach, what her name was and why she stepped down despite having a successful program.
Yeah, Amy Avila stepped down mid-season a couple weeks ago, which you don't often see, coaching changes mid-season, but you really don't see them at a program like Lincoln. They've been to the last three state tournaments. 2 years ago, they were hosting the Division I or Division II NorCal championship game against Oakland Tech. In her career there, she's something like 148 and 35. That's like an 80% win percentage right there. It's been nothing but success. They've won three straight PVL titles. And she said that, there was a disconnect between the players and the parents and the coaches. And, a lot of trust had been lost kind of on all sides. And she felt it was best to step down. And, from murmurings I've heard and Facebook comments and stuff like that, there were a lot of people that were like, hey, we loved, when our kid played for Coach Amy and everything like that. And then there were some people that were commenting saying that, she was horrible to their kids when they played there and stuff like that. And, saying how she's a problem. And I've heard murmurs that, some of the current parents didn't like her and stuff like that. But what's interesting to me is, as reporters, we can all kind of see stuff and feel like we all have a pretty good eye of when, something's going on behind the scenes or behind closed doors to where, maybe this coach is, not necessarily the nicest to their players, stuff like that. But from what I've seen from Coach Avila when I covered her she was awesome. She's been nothing but the nicest person to me. She pumps up her players. They put their stats up all the time. I've never seen her play mind games with players or anything like that. And what's interesting to me is just, how from what she said, a disconnect between the players, the coaches, the parents where trust was lost. I think that kind of tells the whole story and it kind of makes you question, what's going on at these schools. And, I never got anything back from any of the athletic director when any AD or principal or anyone when asking about it. But, what's going on? How do you justify, letting a coach step down with the resume that she has because of a disconnect with parents and players? That feels like something that is, you'd want to sit there and be like, hey, let's work this out. Let's figure this out. So, interesting with that. And every time a coach steps down, there's always the murmurs of what's going on behind the scenes of, could it be parents? I know Sydney Gatson over at Whitney said, her first year there, she had some parents try to, get her taken off the head coaching job. And, all she's done the last 2 years is win 2 section titles and, go on state runs. And, I've seen
Weathered the storm. She
yeah,
weathered the
exactly.
storm and it's too bad.
And now they're in position to potentially go for a three-peat again because they could be a top 4 seed in D2. So, it's just crazy to think, parents come and go, but these coaches don't come and go. And, when you get a good coach, especially at small schools or stuff like that, I know Whitney's not, but, Lincoln is, you don't let coaches like that go. A kid's going to be there, 2-3 years? Maybe if they have a sibling, you deal with the parent for 3 or 4 years, but a good coach will be there for 10. And in my opinion, I think that this is going to be a decision that's maybe regretted by Lincoln to kind of let her get away.
We have an accountability problem, I think, in a lot of aspects of society where you don't like that your kid's getting held accountable by a teacher, by a coach, but that's their job. They're coaching you up and pushing you to standards you did not even think were freaking possible. So if you mess up, you're gonna get held accountable. It's like in our jobs, our careers, our parents, our siblings, our wives, whoever it is in their careers are gonna get held accountable. If you can't do that now, how are you ever gonna handle it? It's not always on the coach. They don't get paid enough as it is. Those hours are, let's be honest, they're garbage hours for very little pay. It's a passion of love. And if you're questioning a Sydney Gatson or Lincoln's coach, I think you've got to look in the mirror a little bit for that too.
I think that's totally true. And let's go back to Sydney Gatson of Whitney, the Wildcats of Rockland and Placer County, and Jason Furbach, who's now with the CIF Sac-Joaquin section office based in Oak Grove, used to be the athletic director. And he talked her out of stepping down, and she just didn't want to deal with the parents, just like Jordan alluded to. These parents come roaring in like a wave, and then they're gone. But the after effect is there, and she stuck it out and won championships. But I was just talking to a coach earlier today. I was telling you guys off air, girls coach in the Sacramento area. I won't mention her name, but one of the top tier programs over the years. She goes, I don't put stats into max preps, which have to be inputted by a stat keeper or coach. because we had parents who second guess everything and they micromanage. Are you kidding? We used to always bag on coaches. What are they doing? Hiding free throw percentages and who's getting rebounds. Well, apparently it sounds like sometimes the parents are so relentless they're going to second guess that. We've all seen coaches or teams or programs where they seem to inflate stats. Boy, that guy's getting a lot of rebounds or a lot of assists and all that, but just really weird. So
I
we'll
had
keep bouncing around.
I had lunacy too, where it was last year I'm covering a
Lunacy.
yeah, I had a big league game I'm covering last year. I don't know how this parent found me in the parking lot writing my story in my truck, right? This was weird how they even follow me to this point. And they're like, well, why didn't we throw the ball more? Why didn't we throw the ball more? I'm like, your running back ran for like 2,500 yards that season. What do you want me to say? And they're like, well, who are you rooting for? Who are you rooting for? I'm like, I don't care who wins. They're like, no, I want to know who you're rooting for. What do you think of these coaching decisions? I'm like, just be a parent. Let
Well,
the
Chris, you were at a Sac High playoff game or leading into the playoffs, and a fan, you saw some pretty unruly fan behavior, and you got roped into it as if you were part of it. And this is nuts. And I haven't had that kind of experience in a while. There was a guy like in 2000 where he got really mad at me because I didn't mention his daughters as some of the greatest girls basketball players. Neither one of them played as seniors. So, hello, you got to have some kind of cutoff. He tracked me down the grocery store in Elk Grove. And I thought we were going to get into it. And some guy from produce came over and made sure us melon heads, took it outside. But he kind of faded off. But people take it too serious. And we're not covering politics. We're covering high school sports. And Jordan, have you been approached, rightly or wrongly, by disgruntled parents and fans?
Oh yeah, I mean, I had a couple just, a week or two ago. It was, someone that was involved with one of the schools that was in a brawl telling me, that my story was full of inaccuracies and stuff like that. And I mentioned to him, hey, we've we reached out to the school, we reached out to all these people, nobody wanted to talk, and all I have to go off is the video of the fight. And these are the facts that are presented to me. Here's what it is. And they, instead of choosing to go on the record and clear the air of all the false information that I had, they chose to, just go with personal attacks of, well, no one respects you as a reporter and all that. And I'm like, well, that's fine. I didn't really get in this business to make friends. So, that's how you feel. I'm sorry you feel that way. But, I'll even get some crazy ones where, I'll be at a football game taking stats, and I've had a parent say, "Oh, you said my kid had this many yards. He actually had this many yards." And I'm like, I was at the game. I did my math twice. I cross-referenced with Max Preps because we'd be 30 yards off, and I'm like, maybe I missed a run. Max Preps is a yard or two away from where I was. I'm like, no, I'm gonna go with my stats, and just crazy stuff like that of situations where I've had parents, baseball, especially now that spring sports are getting close, they don't like a call and they're filming their kids at bat. They'll show me afterward that, oh, look at that ball placement. That wasn't a strike. It's like, well, yeah, man, it kind of was. The umpire called it a strike. It was close. Two strikes. You got to swing at that. I don't know why you're showing me. What do you think? Am I going to put this video in the story? Like, I don't know what you want me to do with this. So, I mean, you get the crazy ones, and then, I mean, we've all gotten the crazy emails, but it comes with the territory. But like we've talked about, and I know people say, "Oh, you hate this school or you hate this kid or something like that." We don't get into this business because we don't like the kids. We want to pump up the kids. We want to do good things. I don't hate any schools. I don't have any schools that are my favorite schools. We get into this because we want to tell their stories, and I think the more parents and coaches and people realize that we're not against you, we're with you. I think can make everyone coexist a little better.
yeah, stop thinking
I
the world's
I agree. Yeah, it's just nuts. So, oops, did I lose you guys?
no, I'm right here.
Yep.
Okay, you there? Okay, I thought I lost you there. The here's a story that I did, and you guys have touched on as well. The year-round grind leads to Sacramento area coaches stepping away, including five of them, and then I think the list has grown a little bit. So we'll just bounce off of this really quick. There's Josh Crabtree of Pleasant Grove High School in Elk Grove. He stepped down, not because of parents, it's just because it's a year-round pressure cooker. And there's an old saying that The best gig in coaching is the assistant coach. Jim Gray did some good work at Bella Vista, including snapping a 48-game NorCal losing streak. Brad Hunkins of Wood Creek up in Roseville, he stepped down. He's a young coach, not even 40 yet. He'll probably get back into it. Kyle Landis of Vista del Lago wants to pursue his more credentials. Jake Messina of Oakmont and Roseville, after turning a team that went winless into a playoff team. These things happen, and it's not a new trend. Um, but coaches come and go, and all of those are good coaches. And Tanner Mathias is another one, Jordan. That's a guy we know and Chris knows up at Bear River and Lake of the Pines and alma mater. Can't afford to lose these coaches, and they don't always step away as teachers, so it makes it hard to get coaches into those spots. So, Chris, there might be more guys in Northern California that I haven't touched on, but that's a trend. I think most of those positions have been filled. We're probably going to have some turnover in basketball too, just because that's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, we've had more coaches step down, like Calusa's Mike Badalucco in the northern section, a great small school power, won state in 2023, undefeated. He has stepped down, and just recently this weekend, it's almost as Gary Melvin announced that he stepped down after a couple of years too, citing on his social media some differences with administration. So we're losing coaches left and right, and like mentioned earlier, these coaches don't get paid a lot. The hours are a grind. It's becoming even more of a year-round job than it ever was before. And then you add in the whole transfer aspect on top of everything, kids moving in and out. I can't imagine the grind of that and what it does to you and your family every single year and just on a day-by-day basis.
Yeah, Jordan, I think we were both surprised and kind of in a way we were disappointed that Tanner Mathias stepped down. I think these guys will get back into coaching. Coaching is these sports are better with these guys in, and we're going to lose more coaches down the road. Chris Nixon had a raw deal at Sheldon of the Oak Grove Unified. I think he'll bounce back somewhere, but I don't think Joe Catalico at Granite Bay is going to do it for years and years and years. And you're as good as your staff, and we applaud those guys for hanging in there. But they hear all the pressure, and Paul Doherty, Folsom. What could be going wrong at Folsom? Well, nothing. But I remember talking to him during a playoff game, before a playoff game. He played all 84 guys in a playoff game. I said, why would you do that? To let the parents know that their kids are involved, so they don't transfer them elsewhere. Casey Taylor up at Oak Ridge, El Dorado Hills, brought a bunch of JV and freshmen up to keep practicing, to help keep working with them. Also, the same thing, we don't want them to transfer out because of disrespect and perceived or whatever. So that's kind of goofy. And we've seen some transfers already happen here during the winter. Like, Chris, I'll go back to you. Who's the young man from Casa Robles, Sacramento Bee All Metro guy? He's on your All
Yeah, so
Sacramento list too.
we've got a
And he's
couple of
now at
big time
Folsom.
players. Yeah, we've got a couple of big time players from the section that have moved, like Suni Yavuki of Casa Roble, that big time lineman's got I think he's up to 4 offers now, a 3-star lineman prospect. He's gone from Casa Roble to Folsom, and he won a section title at Casa in 2023. And yeah, just speaking with Horner at Casa Roble, I don't think you're going to find a coach more dedicated to the kids. He's going on college trips with these kids up and down the West Coast, pumps them up. And was he sad that Vuki left? Of course, but how could you not be? That's the human side of it. And but he still said he's rooting for Suni, and that's a coach I would always want to play for as well. He's still rooting for him, and how could you not root for the kid? He's a mama's boy, waves to his mom during games, during scrimmages. I got some photos of that too that were really fun, but just another great player moving over to an already great and loaded program at Folsom. Then you've got Osani Gales, who was at St. Mary's of Stockton, a 4-star top 100 prospect in the 2027 class. He has since left St. Mary's, and now he's at IMG Academy in Florida.
Wow, that's interesting. Jordan, anything to add on the transfers? Anybody in your coverage zone who's jumped in the transfer portal?
I haven't heard of anything yet. I've heard murmurs of, hey, this kid might go here. Don't be surprised if this kid goes here. But, nothing that I'm necessarily, I guess, is necessarily set in stone, and nothing where, I'm looking at like, hey, wow, like, reporting on this. But a couple guys, I wouldn't be shocked if they end up at different schools. But, it's a situation where I transferred in high school, but mine was because my parents moved. And Also, I wasn't necessarily lighting it up on the football field. I was, maybe getting in on special teams if I was lucky. So I don't think my transfer from Rockland to DO really sent too many shock waves around the SFL back in the day. But I think it's a situation where, I'm for, go where your local high school is and go where, there's situations where maybe you need to transfer where, let's say it's just something where this is just, toxic for me, or maybe I just need a change of scenery. But that's one in a few, or maybe a bad situation at your old school, you just need a fresh start, maybe the kid's getting bullied off the field or something, need somewhere new to go. But for the most part, I'm all for a kid going and chasing their best opportunity. I understand that, and I'm not going to tell a parent what to do with their kid or not to do. But me personally, I'm one of those where I grew up in a small town, and I think playing, there's nothing more gratifying than playing for the small town team you grew up in. A lot of the schools I cover are small schools, and if you go to Placer, a lot of those kids grew up in Auburn and are in Placer. In Lincoln now, I mean, I know 12 Bridges, just opened up, but almost everyone at Lincoln and 12 Bridges grew up in Lincoln, homegrown talent. Rockland's a lot of homegrown kids. Colfax, all homegrown kids. Bear River, Forest Hill, all these schools are homegrown kids that grew up in this area. They dreamed of playing for these varsity teams, and they're doing it. There's something rewarding about, seeing those pictures of, here's me at 6 years old at, the Rockland Junior Thunder basketball camp, and now I'm their starting point guard. I mean, you can't get better than stuff like that. I think those are just great feel good stories that you love. And, if you want to transfer for greener pastures, that's fine. More power to you. But I think a lot of people find that the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
Yeah, just transferred.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And and I think we all agree that if you're a player and you have good huddle film and you show your explosive burst, power, whatever, if you're a skill player, lineman, defensive player, and if you already have good grades and transcripts, you're going to get a scholarship. Going to a different school may heighten your the intensity level in games and practices, though you may have to sit out 30 days. But transferring to a Folsom or a Granite Bay doesn't ensure you're going to get the scholarship, especially if you've already had offers before. And then, in a perfect world, everybody goes to their neighborhood school. That's not been the case for years. And as much as people think it's a big issue here in the Sac Joaquin section, it's an epidemic in Southern California where there's way more schools and way more things going on. And hey, let's shift gears real quick. Let's. I just saw a remarkable scoring feat in on the Central Coast in Santa Barbara County. Uh, St. Joseph High School of Santa Maria. They're in the Central section. Tunde Yesifo just set the scoring career record for California. Broke the mark held by Sheldon of Sacramento's DeMarcus Cousins, or DeMarcus Nelson rather. This kid is exceptional. He's a 6'6" king. He's going Baylor Bears. Best team I've seen this season is that St. Joseph team. Best player I've seen. And he is genuine. He's not a hot dog. He's not a showboat. He was moved by all the accolades and thanked all of his teammates. So I ran a story today in the Sacramento Bee, and that's exactly how DeMarcus Nelson handled it in 2004 when he set the state scoring record. He thanked family, coaches, friends, did it with class. 50 years ago, 1975. Bill Cartwright, this region's greatest basketball player, set scoring records, said the same thing then and now. My best memories were winning championships, not so much scoring things. But we know there was a kid in Southern California who had a 102-point game. That was not very honorable in my mind. It was 79-0 at the half against the winless team, blah, blah, blah. But we may be seeing Tonde Yesufu and this fantastic St. Joseph of Santa Maria team in the state finals at Golden One Center was home a couple of years ago. But applause here. I think we could do a roundtable applause for kids who do it the right way when they're going after a record. He's not going after the record. The coaches were going after the record because he earned it.
Yeah, his quote too after the game saying, quote unquote, this is a team award. And then at the end saying, yes, it's my name on the record, but I feel like it's for all of us. That's incredible. And he gets gifted the custom Kobe shoes with his record number on it. He's got a heck of a story too. A West African native moves to America. The only language he knew was French, a soccer kid at heart. And his mother, stepfather, 6 older stepbrothers still live in out Africa, right? But he moves out here. He's been through a lot. His biological father passed away when he was 10 years old with a heart attack, and this kid has just persevered. I can't imagine it's easy living however many miles it is, a different continent than your parents, your siblings, in doing this. And what's even crazier is there's going to be a kid next year that sounds like he's going to already pass his record. Jason Crow Jr. at Inglewood's only a junior, and he's already above 3,100 career points.
Isn't that wild? I mean, we just appreciate guys who do it within the flow of things. Great point about Crow Jr. and Tonde said that they're basketball brothers, and he's pulling for him, and it's just it's really
They're on
cool.
the
So,
same
all right,
AAU team.
yeah, that's exactly right. All right, so I ran a story last week in the Sacramento Bee, and these are a lot of names that we all know and Sacramento fans know. Who's our Sacramento Bee regional player of the year front runners? And I kind of tried to do an order. It's hard because it's really debatable, and the playoffs will decide this. So I'm going to reel off some names, and we'll just talk about these guys. But Sincere Hudson of Inderkum, steady sophomore guard. Rashawn Engelman of the Monterey Trail Mustangs, an excellent guard who's had a fantastic senior year, a lot of improvement. Mark Lavenrob, the big man that Jordan knows well for the Rockland Thunder. He's a Sac State commit, big man who could shoot the three, bang inside. Chase Rollins, we've all seen him play, the 6'5" senior guard for the Folsom Bulldogs. Jalen Valdez, 6'4" guard for Destiny Christian, formerly of known as Capital Christian. Aiden Rollins, we've seen him play. He's maybe the best player in school history for the Franklin Wildcats of Elk Grove Unified. Asher Schroeder, 6'5" guard for the Jesuit Marauders. They play great defense. They're playing Rockland tonight after beating them in overtime earlier. Max Van Lanningham of Wood Creek, big man who does a lot of big things. Cannon Rector is another guy. We all kinds of names on this list, but I'm going to shift to Jordan here. Cannon Rector is a sophomore for the Placer Helm. What is his deal, Jordan? How good is he, and how good can he be from what you've seen?
I mean, Cannon Rector, in my opinion, he might be one of the top 3, 4 guards in this section already with what he's done. I mean, he can hit some shots. He can dish it out in ways that I haven't really seen in a long time, especially from, a kid of him. And you look at him and, short little kid, baby face. I don't even know if he can grow peach fuzz yet. Probably, I guess not completely short, probably like 5'11", 6 feet. Doesn't look the most assuming. And then you watch this kid play, and the way he moves the ball, the way he dribbles, the way he has a pass first mentality. I mean, he plays with the basketball IQ that just through the roof. This season, he's averaging about 18 points a game, 3.7 rebounds, 6.3 assists. Only a sophomore. His family's a great athletic family. His sister is a pole vaulter at Hawaii. She holds the Placer High School record for highest pole vault, and that's a big deal because Placer has a Olympic gold medalist in the pole vault as an alum. His mom is a Placer alum. What I love about him though is, like I said, he has a pass first mentality. He's very hard to get to the basket, the way he can adjust shots, everything like that. But talking to him, and I think Chris, you were with me after the Kendall Arnett, him and Emmett Rose have this chemistry together at Placer, and both of them have the ability to go off and, potentially go for 35, 40 any night. And we asked, hey, the school record here is pretty reachable. They've both of them, I think, have come close multiple times this season. And anytime they're asked, like, I don't care about that as long as we win the game. So I mean, kind of, back to some of these records, they don't care about the records. They just want to win. And Placer's 21-2. They've got a 2-game lead in the FBL with just 4 games left. And I mean, they're looking like right now. I know there's a few other teams in that mix in D3. Natomas looks like they're up there now. But it looks like Placer and Christian Brothers are going to be on a collision course to meet in Golden One Center. And, that was a great quarterfinal matchup last year with Christian Brothers beating them in overtime. But, Cannon Rector is as good as they come. And I think this kid's a D1 talent that's, we're going to start getting a lot of offers trickling in soon.
Yeah, he'll get a lot of offers, and it won't be because of what high school he goes to. It's going to be because of who he is and what he does and his academics and his leadership. And you also get a lot of recruiting in basketball comes in the AAU circuit too. It doesn't even come during the high school season because there's so much college basketball schedules, a whirlwind of travel and stuff. But he's one of the best sophomores, I think, in Northern California, bar none. He's a next level talent. Emmett Rose could go somewhere too with the way he shoots the basketball. And we got to applaud these kids that he has that quote after the game. He just wants to win. And it's like Asher Schroeder had told Joe, I think he told you not long ago. He told me last Friday, I just love basketball, so why not go all out and do everything I can for my team? I don't care if I score 20 or 30, as long as we win, I'm happy as can be.
I love it. And one thing about these guys, and I think you guys kind of hinted on this, stay put. And sometimes we see these fantastic talents, Sincere Hudson as a freshman, now he's a sophomore at Intercom, and all these other players we've talked about, and Aiden Rollins. And then you start thinking, geez, I wonder if a prep school's going to try to pluck him. And I'm not a big fan on the prep schools. And there's so much arrogance of, we can develop you and blah, 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 blah. Stay put. Same theme. If you have good grades and good transcripts and good character and size and all that, then stay put. I think that's really good. Next week we'll break down a list of girls basketball players of the year to look for, and we're talking girls from Folsom to McClatchy, Colfax, things like that. And as we touch on all those kind of things, let's talk about a feel good story. We have Scott Tedman, who is one of the most remarkable coaches and people I've ever met, and his day job is that as a Sacramento County judge, and so serious job and responsibilities there. For 30 plus years, he's been a terrific coach at small schools. That's his desire. Led the Sacramento Adventist Capitals boys up in Carmichael, not too far from where I am, to championships in 2017, 2018. And then a couple of weeks ago, or just over a week ago, he takes over in an interim for the girls program at Sac Adventist because they had Coach Kenny Johnson has had to step away for personal reasons. We hope everything's okay there. But I've gotten to know him. Chris, you've gotten to know him. Jordan, you've run into him. You've met him. One of the feel good guys. And that's a guy who's coaching. And we find the time. He also used to do a lot of marathons and get a little bit of hip flexor there. But good to see him back. They have a big game tomorrow at Faith Christian in Yuba City against Lauren Harris, one of the nation's top scorers. But that's good. That's a feel good story, and we're going to mention those every week.
Yeah, just the way the full circle of life. One of his former players at Valley Christian, his daughter is a freshman at Valley Christian, who is a star. Lulu is a freaking star there. She's going to be one of the best players when it's all said and done. His debut game coaching Sac Adventist girls was against her. Victoria Fowler, the star who's been out with injury right now, he coached her older brother. And then his middle school principal, for heaven's sake, was at that debut game last Thursday night. How awesome is that to see it come full circle? You've got all these people going to the gym to support Scott himself, his middle school principal. I think that says everything you need to know.
And one thing to add to that too, with Coach Tedman, like you said, Joe, great guy, one of the great guys in the area. Dabbles in broadcasting sometimes too, helping out our good buddy Matt Bissett with ABC Jam. But what I love about him too is just what he brings to the table. He's the type of coach that doesn't care about the wins and losses, and he's had plenty of wins in his career. But just the way he molds those players, and I'd encourage anyone to, if you haven't seen him coach a game, you should check it out, and check one out at Sac Adventist, because talk about some of the best gyms in the area. Sac Adventist is right up there, man. I love that barn.
And one thing that to applaud all of us, the three of us, is we know that high school sports, it's often the large schools that get a lot of the attention, the Folsom football, the Folsom girls basketball, Sheldon basketball, and things like that. Understandable, warranted, earned. But what's great about this region as well is the depth. You got large school powers, medium school like Placer, and then you got the small schools, Colfax, River. Then you get the really small schools, the Valley Christian of Roseville, the Sacramento Adventist, the Woodland Christian. These kids can play. They play on a smaller stage, figuratively, smaller enrollment, 250 kids at some of these schools, but they care just as much. And somebody might say, "Well, do they have scholarship kids?" Is that all that you think about? Really, 2% of high school kids in America get scholarships. 98% of them are out there having a good time. So we applaud the small schools. We'll continue to cover the small schools. We'll touch on this next week, Jordan and Chris, that, look at the great job that Rexanne Simpton has done at Colfax Girls. They were the only Sacramento area boys or girls team that played in a state final each of the past 2 seasons. We'll also talk about competitive equity, yay or nay. So a lot of those kind of things, but really quick. So Steve White, Oak Ridge girls basketball, El Dorado Hills, on Friday nights going for his 700th career victory. What a career. He used to coach boys in Southern California. Oak Ridge girls with Sarah James went on to Stanford scholarship fame. The Oak Ridge girls in 2010 won a state championship, Division One, beat Long Beach Poly, and it was in Bakersfield because there was some kind of conflict up here at Arco Arena before it became Golden One for CIF. And I told Steve, I said, how'd you get all these students down here from Oak Ridge? He goes, I told him I'd give them extra credit in math. That's a leader right there. So he's still doing it. He's still a top tier coach, and kudos to him. 700 wins is something else. That would be a section record for girls. The boys record holder in this Sac Joaquin section is Dean Stark at Sacramento Waldorf with more than 700 wins. 700 wins, I cannot fathom. So kudos to the great Steve White of Oak Ridge.
And look at what he's doing this year too. They're in second place on the SFL without Lev Jurgensen, who's a Division I signee to the University of the Pacific in Stockton.
With an injury. She has a knee injury.
Yep.
She'll bounce back, but no, that's fantastic. All right, I'm going to throw a name. Ian Book is the only Sacramento area player, maybe from the whole Sac Joaquin section, who's going to be in the Super Bowl. I don't know if he'll play in the game, but he's on the quarterback depth chart. He's from Oak Ridge High School. Won the most games ever for anybody at Notre Dame. So there he is. I remember a little funny story. They played a playoff game his senior year at Elk Grove, and a fan came up to me and said, how does Ian Book get a scholarship and the Elk Grove guy isn't, even though the Elk Grove guy is a little bit taller and he's got just as good of a GPA? And I said, well, come over to the field level over here a little bit. And I said, just watch the ball. You could pretty much hear it hum and zip through the follow through of Ian Book. And I said, that kind of pop pass, that kind of ability is why he's a national recruit, and he's backed it up. So kudos for that. El Dorado Hills will be following and rooting for Ian Book, one of the good guys, one of the good players. And he's grinded through the NFL. He's bounced around different teams, but making a pretty good living being on a roster. So kudos to him. Super Bowl with the Chiefs and the Eagles on Sunday.
He gets the best seat in the house. I say the best job in sports is the third string quarterback because you get the paycheck, you get the uniform, you get the gear, you got to be on the sideline every Sunday, and 99% of the time you don't have to do anything. So, credit to him. He's made a great career out of it. I think everyone's dream career right there.
It is. Hey, so why don't we wind up and Chris, how do we get people to reach out to us if they have questions, if they want us to debate about a topic or a league or what's fair, what's perceived as unfair? They could be anonymous questions, but we want to hear from readers and or viewers, and we want to address those questions.
Yes, we've got a lot of different ways. We've got, what is it? We've got our own Twitter page. We have got our own Facebook page. We have got our own email as well right now. Why I don't have the email written right in front of me, I don't know. But here we actually go. So the email would be stoogespodcast@gmail.com. You can email us there, hit us up on Twitter, and you can hit us up on Facebook. And Jordan's got all that social media information where he can get that for us.
Yeah, definitely. On Facebook, you can find us at Three Stooges Podcast. I mean, I think all of us have shared it on our personal accounts, everything like that. And then Twitter, I'll pull it up right here. Kind of same boat as you, great radio. We're pulling it up on the fly, but Three Stooges Preps, that's a number Three Stooges Preps on Twitter. If you're one of the 55 people that followed us in the last 2 days, thank you so much. We were talking before the show. We didn't know what to expect following wise, maybe, 15, 20 people. I was not expecting 55.
Brian, I want 5,500.
You promised us that. So I don't know. I mean, I think you might owe us the next round of pizza and beer since we didn't reach that mark. But, we have all our personal Twitter accounts on there too, Joe, Chris, and I. So, follow us and see where we're at during the week. I know we talk the big sports here, but, we all cover everything around the area and, check us out, see where we're at, and give us a follow, message us, email us, let us know what you guys think. And, if you want to call us hacks or anything like that, you can email us that too. Those ones go to Chris's personal email, but, we'll take it.
That's exactly right. And we call ourselves the Three Stooges. We take our job very serious. It's a great responsibility. It's a great role. We're all proud to have it. But we don't take each other too serious. We will banter. We will have fun. We will roll with it. We appreciate everybody. I appreciate you guys so much. We will see you at games near and far very soon as we crank up. We're going to do this every week, and it's as good as the interest and the readership and the viewership. So keep following us and let us know what more topics we should do. And we appreciate the eyes and ears out there. If you see a record setter that maybe slipped through the cracks, reach out. That's how that works. All right, we bow out.